Welcome to Sacred Place Live. I'm your host, Matthew. We continue this week with our Pride series. We celebrate Pride all month, and if you want to know why, watch last week's video. In choosing what we would look at from the Bible for this series, I wanted to do something different than last year. Last year we looked at different characters and how their stories speak to the LGBTQ experience. But this year I want to look at the words of Jesus, the ways he turned culture upside down that might be helpful for those of us who identify as LGBT+. Our experiences with church are so different from those who are not on the margins like us. And so I want to start this week with Mark chapter 3. Jesus entered a house. A crowd gathered again so that it was impossible for him and his followers to even sit. When his family heard what was happening, they came to take control of him. They were saying, "He's out of his mind." The legal experts came down from Jerusalem. Over and over they charged, "He's possessed by Beelzebul. He throws out demons with the authority of the ruler of demons." When Jesus called them together, he spoke to them in a parable. How can Satan throw out Satan? A kingdom involved in civil war will collapse, and a house torn apart by divisions will collapse. If Satan rebels against himself and is divided, then he can't endure. He's done for. No one gets into the house of a strong person and steals anything without first tying up the strong person. Only then can the house be burglarized. I assure you that the human beings will be forgiven for everything, for all sins and insults of every kind. But whoever insults the Holy Spirit will never be forgiven. That person is guilty of a sin with consequences that last forever. He said this because the legal experts were saying, "He's possessed by an evil spirit." His mother and brothers arrived. They stood outside and sent word to him, calling for him. A crowd was seated around him, and those sent to him said, "Look, your mother, brothers, and sisters are outside looking for you." He replied, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?" Looking around at those seated around him in a circle, he said, "Look, here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does God's will is my brother, sister, and mother." So these words are not exactly what you'd expect during Pride Month. These words from Jesus about denying family, as it may seem. But what I find interesting here is that I'm asking myself, there's only one of me, asking myself what his family might be concerned about. We see these leaders from the synagogue, the Jewish elite, the Pharisees, coming to challenge Jesus and what he'd been teaching. We have to remember that the things which Jesus taught are the things which got him killed. He spoke in ways that turned society upside down. I've shared before, and I'll share again, that those in power fear losing that power. That's true in the church, in the ancient world even. Things which seem like a threat have to be extinguished. I think this is probably what Jesus' mother, brother, and sisters were concerned about when they say, "Is he crazy?" They're saying, "Is he crazy to keep saying these things? He must be insane to think that preaching these words over and over again is not going to lead to him getting in trouble. More and more people are gathering. The word's just going to spread about what he's saying, and we are afraid for him." I don't know if that's exactly what was going on here, but that's how I can imagine it being. That's kind of a way of saying, sit down, you're rocking the boat. How many in the LGBT plus community have heard that? That in sharing our truths, people tell us to be quiet. We might embarrass them. We might cause an uproar or more trouble for ourselves. Just stick to the status quo. Be quiet. We don't have to air this out publicly. It's why so many are afraid to be themselves. Jesus goes on to talk about family. Now, he's being accused of some pretty serious things. And he shares a story that may seem a little confusing, and it may seem a little combative or militaristic, but I think this struggle that Jesus speaks of is indicative of the struggles against power, of empire on the greater scale, which these people experienced every day. They were an occupied and oppressed and often marginalized people as a whole, not just those who they themselves marginalized. And so I think in Mark's text, so often, Jesus is not one who is fond of people being enslaved or in bondage, whether it be from the institutions of culture or that of family or of religion. Jesus' goal is for life, for living life to the fullest, to being whole people, part of society. And so when he says, "Who are my family?" Those who are around him, those who he chooses to share life with, are also his family. Those who understand what he is doing, what he is saying, what he is preaching, and why, and its importance, and those who support that are the ones who he trusts. That's not to say anything bad about his mother or brothers or sisters. They just didn't understand, in my view. But what this means is that Jesus is saying the gospel, that I have come here to teach and preach and share and make grow, is something that I can't give up. I can't stop proclaiming the truth. His ministry of healing and casting out evil in people's lives, of bringing forgiveness, is something he's not going to stop doing, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if it causes his family to be afraid for him. He is committed and dedicated to his ministry. And so he's going to surround himself with people who support him. I think that's true for those who are LGBT+. we have to distance ourselves from those who don't want us to tell our stories, our truths. That's damaging and harmful. And so often the church has been the perpetrator of that. We ask people to be a part of the church and change who they are, or not talk about who they are, or just make everyone the same and say we're all sinners. That's not life-giving. That doesn't celebrate who God created us to be. So many in the church are still trying to get it right, and I think we see a lot who have a long ways to go. That's why we are so committed to being and creating a sacred place wherever we go. Justice, inclusion, and family are about making sure everyone is truly welcome, and not just providing lip service to that, but truly embodying and living out the kind of upside down world that Jesus himself talked about. Making sure that no one is oppressed, no one is marginalized, no one is in the bondage of a culture or structure or systems which, for the LGBT community specifically, push down who they are. Tell them that they can't be a Christian because of who they love. That's not a message that aligns with the gospel. I don't see how Jesus would have responded in such a way. So we have to continually, with repetition, over and over again, proclaim the gospel of God's love for everyone, with no exclusions, no exceptions. It's not easy work. Even here in Southern California, which many view as the liberal bastion of blueness, the world is far more complicated than that. The church is far more complicated than that. We have work to do everywhere we are and everywhere we go. We will do that work together. For those who might be watching who are part of the LGBT plus community, you are loved for who you are. We're not going to ask you to change yourself. We're going to celebrate who you are. This is your sacred place, created especially for you. We invite you to find a place where you belong. I invite everyone to join me next Thursday at 5:30 here on Facebook Live or on YouTube afterwards. Or on Sunday mornings? Sunday mornings, we gather at 10:30 for a Sacred Place Together on Zoom. Though, beginning on the third Sundays, starting this month, that would be June 20th, we are gathering in person, safely wearing masks for our kids. As a good example, when we're not eating, we'll be gathering at, I have the slide here for this. Sunday, June 20th, there it is, at 11 a.m. at Heritage Park here in Rancho Cucamonga. It's north of the 210 off Barrel. Bring your own food, bring your own extra chairs if you want to spread out. Bring anything you might want or need. We'll provide space and time, and I'll share a little reflection. But this is really about us being together because it has been so long. If you want to keep up with any more information about what's going on with Sacred Place, you can visit our website at yoursacredplace.org/the-loop, or just loop, or the loop, however you spell it wrong. It'll get you to the right place. this will share with you what's going on. This Sunday for Sacred Place Together, we're doing something a little special. I'll be off because it's my birthday. Our friends from Launchpad, Aaron and Jen, will be leading a time of reflection in ways that they are preparing for the strategic plan that they are helping us through, helping us conceive. They'll be telling you a little about the process and how they see things going from here, in addition to what I've already shared with you, but also asking questions that, as they have started to receive survey responses, they've started to see some patterns and maybe have more questions for us. I won't be there, so you can talk freely. It won't be recorded or anything like that. This is just for you to share, enjoy time together, and dream of what Sacred Place might become. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you next Thursday. And as always, this is your sacred place.